Live.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome in to another episode of the Fantasy Addicts Fantasy Football Podcast. We are coming at you live on Twitch.
We'll do it live!
And again, just collecting some videos, and then we're going to be putting it up on YouTube and maybe some posting the audio to some of the different podcast sites out there. So we'll let you know when we get that up and going. But for now, just streaming live, figuring everything out, trying to get the lights, the camera, because you know we got that action. So, all right, I am Mike, coming at you with my co-host, Nikki B.
That is me. I'm Nick.
And today what we're going to be doing is changing it up a little bit. We're going to take a number of popular video games because we're video game enthusiasts, gamers, also streaming on Twitch. There's a lot of gamers out there trying to kind of bridge the gap. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be naming the video game, and then it'll set us up for a category of player that we're going to try and pick different players that would fit into that category. So we're going to give you that. We're going to keep all the hot takes coming.
Oh, hot, 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 hot.
So hot.
So hot.
And let's get it going. All right. So the first category we're going to do, first video game, a little bit older video game, Left 4 Dead. One of my personal favorites. You ever play Left 4 Dead?
I have not.
Okay, Left 4 Dead, zombie apocalypse, which is just so appropriate for the times we're living in. Just waiting for next month for that to kick off. So how we're going to relate that to fantasy football players is we're going to have you name a fantasy football player who people are just leaving for dead. They are not drafting him. People are overlooking this player. Someone
not interested.
Not interested. So, but not just someone that no one's interested in, because there are a number of those players. Someone who people aren't interested in, who is going to outperform their average draft position and actually be a relevant piece for fantasy football this year. So I'll let you kick it off. Who you got?
You got to go AJ Green. I'm an AJ Green enthusiast.
I already said Nick's going to take AJ Green for each one of the categories that we have here.
Well, he's just going to, take over the market on, good plays.
I have him as Left 4 Dead, but
and just left
and he's just
forever.
left. Yeah, so I would agree with that. But.
Yeah, no, if I can get AJ Green coming out of the draft wherever, especially at his current ADP, I'll take it. I think he's coming back. He had a whole year off, basically, maybe a year and a half. Getting healthy. He's not that old. He's the same age as Julio Jones, and even Julio Jones is going in the first round, second round still. I mean, I'll take AJ Green all day in the top 4 rounds.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Now, talk about AJ Green's health. How many games did he play last year?
It doesn't matter.
Zero games.
It's a new year. It's a new year.
Oh, it is a new year, but it's the same AJ Green with no feet. So, I don't know. I'm worried about AJ Green again, largely because of the health. He's an older guy. But if he can get in there and he can play, again, I would agree. I think he can outperform where he's going now. What's he going about between the 7th, 8th round, 6th, 7th, 8th round, right, depending on who you draft with. With Nick taking him in the 4th, it's hard for me
essentially, you're getting
know.
a wide receiver 1, after the 4th round. I mean, I'll take that all the time.
All right, you said it.
Who you got in this category?
So for this category, I have chosen a guy I talked about on our live stream episode. I chose Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson, he's a speedy guy.
He's the fastest kid alive.
And again, one of the big things I like about him is that the Panthers paid for him. They paid $20 million for him to come be a receiver on your team. You don't pay a guy that much money if you don't want to use him on your team.
That's true.
Is one of my takes on him. I just did a mock draft earlier just to kind of see where he went. He went in the middle of the 11th round. So if you can get a guy who has a good chance of getting targets, who's got a good chance to get touchdowns, again, if nothing else, just keep an eye on him at the beginning of the year, those first couple games, because if he flashes a little bit in those games, and Robbie Anderson does do that, though. He will sometimes flash, have a big game, and then kind of disappear for a game. That was with the Jets, though. The other narrative is everybody who gets away from Adam Gase then becomes a fantasy relevant guy who just does much better than they did for fantasy without Adam Gase as their coach. So he's coming off to the Jets, got picked up by the Panthers. They paid him. And again, I believe they want to use him. Again, the knock on it is that Teddy Bridgewater is not a guy who likes to air it out, doesn't like to throw the ball down the field. But I was listening to another podcast, and one of the stats that they threw out was that the Saints had a lower percentage of throwing down the field than you would imagine. So was it all Teddy? But maybe it was a little bit of the scheme with the Saints. And the other thing is, when he did go downfield, he was, it was effective. He had a good percentage of completions when they would go for. I believe it was like 7% of.
Right. Unmute myself. It's just at the 11th round, even if you give him in the 10th round, at that point you're taking dart throws and just seeing what you can get value-wise. Yeah. I think that's value-wise a good spot for him, and he's like the ultimate flex play if he has any relevance at all, because he'll have those, 2 for 90 and a touchdown. It's like, that's enough.
Yeah, I think worst case scenario, you're getting a guy who's got the potential to have a touchdown in every game, and then best case scenario, you're getting a guy with maybe 6 to 8 targets who can have a touchdown. Right. If he can get a couple catches for big yards, I think he can definitely be,
Well, especially if you play in like
even a flex play, yeah.
Especially if you play in a standard league, with no PPR. I mean, he's not going to be the PPR guy. But he'll get you chunky yardage and touchdowns.
Absolutely. All right, so that's my pick. So just some news that we heard today. It looks like the NFL's Player Association did agree to have football this season, so the show will go on.
They can't cancel Quidditch.
And again, it looks like they're going to try to get a full season in. So again, things can happen, but that is definitely a good news. I do have my Cubs shirt on today because baseball started back up again. Kind of a reluctant, just long time.
And the Cubs are up 6-0.
Long time abused Cubs fan, but they did get baseball going. They've had some cases of COVID pop up. But
we
again,
might have to talk about that a little bit later too.
Yeah, so that could come up. But again, back to baseball. If anything going and getting going, hopefully, maybe the NFL can learn from the mistakes that baseball make. But it looks like
it's just a good test run for sports in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So get back to it. All right. So we'll move on to the next category. The next video game / category we have is Fallout. So Fallout, another one, another post-apocalyptic video game. So we're sticking with.
I'm noticing a trend here.
The 2020. Yeah. Oh, it was all just practice for this year, but hey, the show goes on. Football's coming back. It's all uphill from here. So for this category, we're going to say what player who is going to a new team or possibly coming back off of injury is going to have the largest impact, what will have the biggest fallout for him as well as his team in the division. All right, so I will start with this one because I think there's a couple that popped out to me. I'll take one of the guys that I think is impacted by the same situation, and that is Cam Newton going to the Patriots. I think that is going to just give them a lot better chance to be competitive this year. Again, there's still a couple people like, I don't know if Cam will just have this. He'll have the starting job from the start. Like you bring in an MVP guy. If he's healthy, he's going to go. Everything sounds like he's healthy. The Patriots are a team that you have enough faith in that if they picked him up, he'll be healthy. Whereas if Miami or the Browns or Chicago did it, like, his feet, they're
gone.
He's got AJ Green syndrome.
The Bengals.
They expect him back week 4 and he'll never show.
Yeah.
So I think Cam Newton is going to it'll be interesting to see what they can do with him. It'll be interesting to see just with that coaching staff, how much they can get out of him. And if he can be mobile, if he can throw passes, it's just so Patriots to nobody wants this guy and we got him and now he's great.
Yep. And, he was a league MVP and
they keep being nothing. They keep being the smartest people in the room. And it's just
in the post Tom Brady.
And here's the thing: if the Bears would have grabbed him, I don't think I would feel the same way I do about him
Absolutely
now.
Not. It's like if he went to the Saints, you're like, okay, I get it.
So
just more trust and
how do you feel about taking Cam in a redraft league?
He's not the first quarterback I'm taking at any point.
Now, let's say you're taking a quarterback with your last pick in the draft. Are there other ones that are going late that you like better than him? Do you like him or Joe Burrow?
I like him more than Joe Burrow.
Him or Drew Lock?
I'd probably take Drew Lock.
Him or Derek Carr?
Derek Carr.
I don't. I think I'd take Cam over Derek. So again, remind me, Joe Burrow. You think you'd rather have Cam?
I think I'd rather have Cam. I mean, you always have to bet against the rookie quarterback.
Oh, against the Tiger King coming into Cincinnati.
I saw Tiger.
I just wanted to play the drop. But, I think that Cam, he's another one. Again, if you see him early, if he has a game early, people are going to just lose their mind. He might be a great guy to trade early.
Right.
If he comes out with the Patriots, gets that, has that good start game, you might be able to flip him for something valuable. All right. Who's your pick?
I went with more of a negative here. I am so worried about Mike Evans with TB12 coming into town.
Okay.
I want to believe that he's going to be good. I want to believe that he's going to have similar production as the past, but I'm just not seeing it. I see the Gronk as the check down guy.
Just because Gronk's going to have all the touchdowns.
It's
I
Gronk.
got you.
And then you have, Godwin there that's going to take, probably the Edelman role, honestly. And then Evans.
Hot take, kind of. Yeah.
Evans is kind of left with, 2 for 40 and a touchdown here and there.
Yeah, I think, he puts up 1,000-yard seasons year after year, but again, you got to think the passing volume will be down compared to Jameis.
I would think so. The only saving grace is hopefully the running backs are as terrible as they've been in the past. But there's no guarantee.
No, man, the Ronald Jones hype train it's getting some momentum. They start shoveling that coal because it's coming down the track.
He needs to stay in the station.
You put on 7 or 8 pounds of muscle. You got a trainer that he's working with. Oh,
hard pass.
I'm just ready for the Ronald Jones. That's what we should put on. Yeah, just make a breakout category. But all right. But again, I also had as a guy that I was kind of considering was Tom Brady. I think that whole offense we got to see how it looks with Tom and Gronk coming in. If it's just going to be the two of them and they have everybody else sit down while they just score touchdown after touchdown,
fine.
Or if maybe they throw it to Mike Evans once in a while,
right.
All right, number 3, our third video game, Apex. So I know you play this one because Nick and I play together. Just talk about who you think. So for this category, it's going to be the apex of their career, fantasy football-wise. It's going to be the very best fantasy football season they have. So that eliminates all the guys that have had monster seasons before who are still relevant.
Right.
And again, it could also it's not necessarily just a breakout guy because some of those guys on the rise up, they could, continue to rise.
Right.
So, we'll have you go first. Who did you pick for this category? I'm curious to hear.
I think this could be the Godwin year. I mean, he had such a great year last year, but if Tom Brady's just going to slang it, I mean, he's just going to throw it to Godwin, I have a feeling. Just kind of the opposite I was talking for the fallout with Evans is, there's going to be those passing plays on those, crossfield, plays. I just think those are going to be open all day long.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. Again, Godwin is a guy who kind of crossed my mind when I was thinking about it, but I think with him, again, the talent's good, and if Tom, let's say, again, so you think he'll do better this year than last year?
I think he'll do better this year than last year, at least comparison, and then after, I don't know if Tom's got another year in him. I don't know if he's effective. He's another year older. People figure out the scheme. There's a lot of things that happen.
Yeah, because I think that, again, he had a lot of things going his way as far as fantasy production last year. They were throwing the ball a million times.
Evans
I don't feel
got
like they're
hurt.
going to throw as much. There's just some key kind of little injury kind of things.
Right.
The tight ends never really put it together like some people thought. I'm still waiting for O.J. Howard to have a good game.
Never heard of him.
You never will.
I'm not familiar.
With Gronk scoring every touchdown.
Unfamiliar.
So anyways, so I think that's an interesting take. But again, it would depend a lot because with him, his future is so uncertain past a year or two. Who's the guy they're going to bring in? Who's going to be their quarterback there? What team will he, does he play for other teams in his career? So I think
just get Winston back.
Yeah. Oh, they got to get him back from the Saints after he takes over for Drew and he just becomes their next franchise quarterback. So my Apex player that I chose, and I have 2. I might hit on both of them because I kind of like. So the one that I chose was Dak Prescott. So Dak, again, he kind of like Godwin had a real big year. Will he be able to beat that year is one question, but things are lining up for him. They draft a really talented, what many people believe to be the most talented wide receiver in the NFL draft. They've got 2 good guys who Amari Cooper they paid a lot, so. I think this will be the only year that they have Amari and Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. So that's part of the reason why I chose this to be his best year.
I see it.
The other thing is I think that Zeke, he's right in his prime. Will he get through another year with the kind of mileage they put on him?
Yes.
Nick has Zeke in his dynasty league,
everywhere.
so they'll just I feel like Nick's going to trade Zeke before the end of the year, but that's just I know
I
you
like
him.
my
I
Zeke
like
shares.
Zeke.
Especially his 5 more year contract.
He's a good, consistent guy. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think that there are a lot of things that could really help the Cowboys this year. It's can the Cowboys not Cowboys and screw it up?
Right.
Again, their tight end situation, Blake Jarwin, I picked him up for a little bit, but I actually did some research. I ended up dropping it. It is Blake Jarwin, right? But I picked up the Packers tight end, different guy. But some people are excited for Blake Jarwin. He's no Jason Witten.
He's not great.
But
not great.
Well, again, Jason Witten is getting up there in age, and it's time to move on. But I don't. That would be the only position on the team where you kind of look at it and it's
a little sketchy.
Yeah.
But again, they don't need it.
No, they got great running backs, great receivers, and
they have the linemen to cover up the tight end position if you can't get anybody in there that can block.
So I think this is the year for them to put it together and be in the playoffs. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, the other guy I wanted to touch on that I think is in just a lot of things lined up to work out well for him, and things could still change, but it's Miles Sanders. So Miles Sanders on the Eagles. I know that Nick doesn't like to draft Eagles players, but right now he's the guy. And, maybe like I have Boston Scott in Dynasty, but again, he's not a guy that I have a ton of faith in is going to take away carries. I think he's going to get a ton of volume.
Yeah.
I think they're going to need to use him because they're wide receivers. They got some guys. I would say their wide receiving core is mid to good.
It's okay.
It could be good if guys stay healthy, but he's had a lot of injuries last year. I think Carson Wentz is a good enough quarterback. A lot of the games that I watched with the Eagles, I just watch and they're doing nothing, and they're out of it. Like and then they'd come back at the end.
A couple big plays at the end.
Fourth quarter, they'd pull it out.
Right. But is there enough big plays?
Yeah, they were the opposite of the Bears who would do nothing, and then you'd wait, and then they have a chance, and then they still did nothing.
Right.
So.
But honestly, I'm going to compare him to.
Lack of faith disturbing.
It's base in that one.
All about that base.
I'm almost comparing him to like Jordan Howard 2 years ago. He'll be useful, but I'm not excited.
I think he's a different kind of player than Jordan Howard just because he can catch the ball. He's speedier. I think he has bigger big play potential.
Yeah, but I think he's going to get 25 touches a game, which is going to be great.
Yeah.
But I just don't see a lot of production with those attempts.
I think their offense can be good enough for him to score. I think that
you're definitely drafting the opportunity.
I think his opportunity is going to be higher this year than this year because I think if it doesn't work out, they're bringing in a guy next year. And I think even if he does do well,
or Freeman's coming
probably So that would be the thing this year is if they do sign, Freeman or who's the Houston guy that got injured last year? He's still out there. Lamar, yeah. So those are two guys I like to talk about in the Apex category. All right, moving on to category number 4, the Super Smash Brothers, a phenomenal video game.
Do we skip Red Dead?
Again, I reordered them, so we'll come back to Red Dead.
Perfect.
But Super Smash Bros. So what team's running back duo, or you could even expand it to 3 if you want to, what running back by committee situation is the best where you can find multiple guys that are going to have that potential to be useful pieces that you want on your team? So I'll actually take this one because I don't want you to take mine. So I picked the Browns. I think the Browns they have the 2 most talented running backs. They've just revamped their line. They got new coaching staff who is going to have to work hard to be worse than the last one. I think, but again, there are a lot of outliers, a lot of uncertainty with the Browns. And as we've said before, when you're talking about the Browns,
that team sure did suck last night. They just plain sucked. I've seen teams suck before, but they were the suckiest bunch of sucks that ever sucked.
So sucky.
So again, if they come out and they set the world on fire and they do great this year, we'll have to change that to hopefully not the Bears. Hopefully we can make it Jacksonville or Washington or something. But for now, the Browns just underachieved. But again, if they can put it together, those running backs are talented guys. And Nick Chubb, again, I think he's going to have just
he's just going to keep running.
I don't know if I had to put it at least 1,300 yards. I think he's going to run all over.
I believe it.
And if you give him 10 touchdowns with that, that's league-winning level of kind of fantasy running back production. The only problem with him is that he doesn't catch the ball a ton. But if you can get a couple receptions with that kind of production.
But he breaks off 20-yard plays so often. I mean, those
and
score all the time.
And if that offense can put it together and score more this year, you got to think he's going to be the red zone guy. Just to pound it in. And he'll have some touchdowns he pounds in more so this year than last year. And the other guy, Kareem Hunt, who, again, probably would be, more of a featured guy if he didn't get in some trouble, in the past. And I think he's going to catch a lot of balls.
I mean,
so,
they have 2 top 5 running backs on the same team.
And Kareem Hunt, maybe why he's not on your radar so much if you're not, addicted at the level of, the guys that are just pouring over the fantasy all the time. He missed his 10 games, correct, last year for suspension.
Correct.
So if you're looking at the box scores and you're just going over, some people will do that. All right, which running back had the most yards last year?
Right.
Again, it's good to take into account when you're looking at things, but you don't draft last year's stats is kind of the advice that you hear. And again, you got to look at his numbers at the end of the year. He was relevant. He was useful. He puts up points. He catches balls. He does get in the end zone. So I think that those two, and again, from what I've been seeing, Hunt is a guy that is getting drafted still as a usable piece. He's not getting left for dead like some of our others.
No.
So people are aware of him. And again, I believe that next year he can test free agency and might maybe find another team. And if he has a good year this year, become that feature
I think that's
back
probably
again.
what's going to happen.
So in Dynasty, keep that in mind. And if you can make some trades to some guys who maybe aren't fully aware of his contract situation, gamesmanship, right?
Exactly. All right. So the 2 I picked is going to be Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack.
Okay.
So I just have a feeling with the line that the Colts have and JT's explosiveness and Marlon Mack's, passing, attack, and running, I just think
Yep.
whammy. I just think there's going to be a great tandem. And just with the offense and Phillip Rivers coming to town, I think there's just going to be a lot of opportunity to score and gain a lot of yardage. And I think they're just going to split, touches. I feel like they're each going to have 15 touches a game probably.
I think definitely at the start of the year, I would agree with that. I think
Yeah.
I don't think Marlon Mack's going away right away. And again, you got a new rookie. You want to get him used to everything, shortened training camp and all that, shortened preseason or no preseason games actually.
Right.
And again, you want to keep that guy healthy. He's an investment in your team, especially. So let's play out this scenario. Let's say that the Colts get going and they're off to a bad start.
Right.
And I could see a world in which they really want to save him and keep him healthy. They're going to probably have a new quarterback going forward next year, so they're in that sort of like, we might be able to compete this year, but if we can see that it's going the wrong way, maybe we just kind of shift into that rebuild.
I think when they got Phillip Rivers, they're kind of going all in for this year. I think you're trying to take a run with the pieces you have.
Yeah, I don't know if do you look at Phillip Rivers that way as a guy who you feel like at his age and how he played this last season can take you to the promised land?
Well, the thing is, they're not punting. They didn't pick up nobody and try and tank. So they got one of the. You could have gotten Dalton, Rivers, Cam, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those were kind
Foles was out there.
Foles, but or you stay with the Brisket, and I think they chose somebody very solid.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a chance.
Again, I think that they could be competitive, and I think
They're trying to get
if it
T.Y.
gets
Hill
in and they don't get some wins, then
they're trying to get T.Y. Hill in a touchdown or a
touchdown
and a touchdown. They'll have at least one this year.
All right. Well, he is a guy that we might talk about later in the show.
Ooh,
so
spicy.
Stay tuned. Yeah. All right. So that will do it for our Super Smash Brothers. And we will move on to Red Dead Redemption. So this is one that I have not played, but my brother's a big fan. I've heard good things.
I have played this one a little bit.
All right. So Red Dead Redemption, this is going to be a player, so less like the Left 4 Dead. This is a player who underperformed last year, whether it be due to injury, perhaps their quarterback got hurt,
Both.
just any reason, or just had a bad year. And then this player, a lot of these guys, they're still kind of getting drafted in that middle, or that early round, but maybe they're just a little bit more of a value where people are like, is he going to have that bounce back? Is he going to get that redemption? Or is he still, was that struggle last year going to carry over?
Right.
You want to take it first?
Yeah, I'll take it here. I think Darius Geis. He's been hurt for, 8 years in a row now?
Well, let's see. He was drafted.
I think he was drafted 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Okay. And
So
he
he's
has
missed,
that injury.
he's missed two seasons at least.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if it was 2 or 3 years now. But, yeah, I think that injury's the thing. He's shown flashes of talent when he's on the field, and
Right. I think this is the do or die year, but I think he actually gets it done. Again, the passing attack is going to be kind of sketchy there with, Haskins or whoever they put out there. But I think if they just give Geis the ball and he can stay healthy, he's a very good runner.
Now, tell me if you know about Alex Smith. I've been seeing some reports coming across about him, kind of getting back cleared for football. Is he still under contract with them?
I think he would be.
Okay.
I don't think they released him. And even when he was going through all of his training, it was still with the Washington football team's training staff. But he's not going to play again.
Any worries about Antonio Gibson, new rookie? I'm going to nickname him Gibby right now.
Good luck, brothers.
No. They drafted guys high. They're going to put him out there. They're going to run him. It's kind of do or die time for him because his rookie contract's about to be up.
Yeah, and again, I think that if he can be healthy, that's a good pick. But again, I don't know that I have faith in him to be healthy. But again, it's a good pick as a guy who could definitely, he could get redemption for multiple seasons if he comes back. So the guy that I picked was Juju Smith-Schuster. And I kind of hinted at it when we were kind of introducing the category. But again, his quarterback got hurt. Big Ben Roethlisberger goes down, misses, the vast majority of the season. Juju also had some little injuries. Didn't seem like things that would probably carry over, but again, definitely hurt him in the in-season.
Yeah.
And I think that if Ben can come back and air it out, I think Juju's a talented guy. He was drafted highly last year. He's going, he's still going, again, third, fourth round in a lot of drafts. So a guy where it's been multiple mock drafts that I've done where I just see him and I'm like, how do I take my shot on Juju? Because I think he could come back and really be productive like he was in the past. But there's definitely risk there.
Absolutely.
All right. We will move on to our last category. So the last game that we have on the list is this is a franchise, the Final Fantasy. So because we were playing fantasy football.
Do we pick 14 of these?
Yeah, 14 guys.
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Because we're picking everybody.
We're picking about everybody.
Yeah. No, the way that I have structured this one is Final Fantasy, the last year that a player will have just that real fantasy relevance, a guy where you want him in your team, you want him in the lineup, who's kind of in the twilight of their career. And it could be for different reasons. It could be perhaps it's, a running back or a player who's on, a 1-year deal and you think this is the last good year. And they might not get another good deal, or you could be, an older player kind of in the twilight of their career. I'll let you. I got 2 of them, but I'll let you go first.
Honestly, I have 3, and I just saw your list.
Let's just talk about whose careers are ending after this year.
And none of them are the same as yours. So
okay.
I think one of them could be the player we just talked about. I think it could be Juju.
Juju,
if this is Roethlisberger's last season, they could have
I gotta look up his age.
A great tandem. His age doesn't matter in this situation.
It matters so much.
He's like 24.
I'm fine. You keep talking.
Okay. You don't see a whole lot of wide receivers move teams or get luck out with a situation that their quarterback play gets so much better. I think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to have a rough time after Roethlisberger's
Juju
gone.
is 23.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Oh man,
I think he's going to be very good this season, and then I think there's going to be a fall off. There's a whole lot of uncertainty with his
That's
future.
a hot take. You
Well,
think
he's
gonna?
had what, one good season?
He had 2 good
He had
seasons.
an okay rookie campaign.
And when he had
a really good sophomore year.
last year when he'd have good games,
then
they were like
a
very,
turd.
very good games.
Yeah, but there wasn't enough.
They
of
were
them.
like week winning games because I play in a family league, and my soon-to-be sister-in-law beat me she won like 3 games all year, beat me every time because every game Juju Smith-Schuster blew up.
Yeah. And Bernie says Alex Smith actually died.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
I didn't know that. Condolences.
Man, I think it was you that showed me the pictures of his leg.
It
and
looks
if he
so
comes back
bad.
and plays football,
Well,
amazing.
like I said, I just saw a documentary. If he comes back at all and even puts on a uniform, it's insane because his leg looks rough.
I'm rooting for him. Again.
I'm rooting for him too.
So,
It's like Zach Miller. You always wanted Zach Miller to come back for the Bears and play
Yeah,
tight end
yeah.
one more game,
It
or
is. It's a
at least
tough
get
sport.
that touchdown back. But
so
not so lucky.
All right, but again, it's a name that you see come across in Dynasty. There's a little
Right.
in the sleeper app. There's a little kind of tab you can hit where it just has the trending players, and it'll be like people that are getting picked up off the waivers. And he was
Right.
one that I just glanced over. Oh, and then you
It's a feel-good pick.
and then you can go to your different news apps and check out what fantasy news, why. And a lot of times when they shoot up on there, it'll be like, oh, a coach said that this guy might get some reps in the game. Or the coach said that this guy looked good, and it's interesting. Just to see kind of the trends that how they follow the news stories. So that, again, when you get into it and when you get in deep diving and really trying to improve your game, if you can get some of those apps that'll just give you those news updates, that's really helpful. If you notice, if you didn't have them, you see guys getting snagged off the waiver wires,
right?
And why did they pick that guy?
Why is Gronk getting picked up?
Yeah. So you need those up to the second alerts. So Nick's rolling out of bed at 3 a.m. and just picking
Gronk.
Yeah. Never let him go.
So the second person I had was Jordan Howard.
Okay.
Because I think this is his last opportunity at a starting gig. I think he could get the ball, take over, and just run for 1,000 yards again. And I don't see him getting more opportunities. I mean, he would have to go off.
Yep. Former Chicago Bear.
I like old Chicago Bears.
Played on the Eagles last year, had a good season. Was actually not overtaken by Miles Sanders until he got a shoulder injury.
Yeah, he got hurt.
And then
he was productive. Very productive.
He really was. He had a good year. I traded him away in Dynasty, like I said, thinking that Miami was going to pick up a stud running back in the draft. They did not. So they got him. They like him. Matt Breida is the other one who's there. So, yeah, you got to think that he's going to – he might have been a good candidate for Apex. He could have maybe the best year of his career.
I don't know. He's had,
with the opportunity.
He had like a top 8 year with the Bears.
He's had 1,000-yard seasons. Doesn't catch the ball very much.
Not very often. And then my last pick was David Johnson.
Okay.
I think he could have a very good season with Houston. They traded for him. I mean,
I had him in that possible Red Dead Redemption category because I think it's one of those too that he, it's not going to be a better opportunity probably for him. And if he performs, maybe he can hang out on the Houston Texans. They sure traded a lot for him, so somebody must like him.
Somebody likes him.
And again, he's had great years in the past. His injury history, he had a wrist injury that kept him out of a year.
Right.
But he hasn't had some of those more like, ACL, things like that.
It's been soft tissue stuff.
Yeah, last year I think he had a little bit of back issues and things that weren't super clear. They didn't come out and just, this is exactly what he's got and this is how long he'll be back. It was kind of like, I think he came back for one game and played one play, which was just devastating because I had him on the team. But
and you got to start him, too.
Oh, that is the absolute worst is just when a guy who you drafted highly comes back and you think they're going to play. Thielen did it to me. But hey, that's fantasy football. All right, my final fantasy player guys that I think are going to be in their last year of real good fantasy relevance. These aren't guys that will completely disappear. They should still be in the league. They should still get some balls thrown to them. But a guy we were talking before the show, kind of like Larry Fitzgerald, where he's been a phenomenal talent. He's a Hall of Famer. But these last couple, last year and probably going into this year, he's going to have some games. He might get touched on here and there. He might catch a couple balls, but he's just not a guy that you can consistently have in your lineup and feel good about. So the two that I chose, I'll just talk about the first one. This guy we talked about, Colts, T.Y. Hilton. I like T.Y. T.Y. is a talented guy. He's just, a staple on the Colts. Everybody still kind of has him as the wide receiver one on the Colts. He had injuries last year. I worry about his health. He's getting older. I think with Phillip Rivers coming there, the two of those guys, they might have enough kind of veteran savvy to get it done. But I think that he's not the future. I'd have to look at exactly what his contract situation is, but I think this is his last year where he's going to be on the Colts for sure, and then that'll be up in the air.
Team-friendly deals forever.
You would think he would.
He's not
but
going anywhere
again,
else.
if they're rebuilding the whole team, and if they've got new guys that he hasn't played with, who knows what kind of quarterback they'll bring in and what they want to do. But I don't think he's the future of their team anymore, and I think that let's say you're our team that we're fans of, the Bears. They're exactly the kind of team that would pick up T.Y. Hilton next year for too much money, and he just would never
just retire
be
with
the
him.
Same kind of guy.
Yeah. It's like what the Cubs did for the 90s and early 2000s.
Like a Prince Amukamara.
Yeah, it's like a retirement party for players who were good.
Yeah, so again, a guy that he could go there. They could use him. He could be a good football player, but he won't have that fantasy kind of relevance, I don't think.
Yeah, but I think he'll be solid this year. I like him. If you can get him as your flex play, that's an awesome
Yeah,
spot.
I think it might be the last dance for Ty. So, all right, you said you got more. Give me more.
No, that was it. That was my 3.
Oh, that was your 3? Okay.
Howard, DJ, and
the last guy I was going to hit on,
Juju.
largely because of his age, is Julian Edelman. He's just, he's getting up there.
You're
I
late.
believe he's 34. You think he's already done? You don't think
Edelman will be available on waivers by the end of the season.
he's going later? But again, if he gets there, Cam's throwing it. He still could be the most targeted receiver on that team, and I think he's got enough skill and he's got hands. He's got good route running. That even though he's an older guy, he can just get open, catch those little balls, and just maybe in PPR more so than a half point.
I don't know. We'll see what happens with Cam.
Yeah, a lot of and if do they bring back Cam for multiple years? It'll all depend on what happens. But I think Edelman again, he's just the age is the big thing, but also he lost his guy, he lost Tom and
TB12.
If anything, the only way that maybe he gets just that same level of production is when he goes to Tampa Bay next year.
Tampa Bay or leaves for Tampa. Can you imagine?
I can. And then James White will come, and it's just,
it's just gonna be a giant party.
The whole team.
It's just a retirement party.
And Bill will still win more games with Cam and the other MVPs.
So Bill never comes over.
Nothing. No, he just that's why they're going.
You don't think Bill calls Bruce Arians up and like, hey Bruce?
Hey Bruce, he's like, Bruce, do you want to be my offensive coordinator?
Can I work for you, Bruce? I'll be.
Oh, Bill.
I'll be the assistant coach. We'll have fun.
Hey, you know what it would be?
Winning.
Tom Brady would be so mad. He's like, this is supposed to be my off time, my glory years.
He'll just come to make sure that Tom and Gronk are like doing
just
the exact number of calisthenics that he like had written
zero
down.
fun.
Yeah, Gronk, did you do your push-ups, Gronk? You're looking a little skinny.
Shut up, coach.
No, Gronk. Yeah, coach.
Oh man.
All right, so that does it for our video game list.
Yeah, let's talk about how this baseball season has been going the last couple of days and how that might affect football.
No, I think that again. So there was recent reports today. I think it was the Marlins had a number of guys.
Yeah, there was 14 players that
tested positive. And I was listening to something on just the local sports radio, The Score, about a team where they, I think, knew the guys had tested positive before the game, and they consulted the players about whether they wanted to play, and the players said yes, and they played the game. And now I think a number of people are fairly upset about that.
Again, asking was an option.
So it's definitely one of those things that that won't ever happen again. So again, regardless of what your opinion of it is, again, that was a thing that was just one of those things that's not going to happen. They're going to have strict protocols in place where as soon as, and I'm not even sure what the Major League Baseball had. I think they might have had 100+ page kind of setup, which, you're trying to get your team together, you're trying to prepare, you're trying to get going, that maybe just everybody didn't know exactly what all the rules were. But I think the NFL, I think they'll have a pretty set, because they've got more time, because they've got to get to see the other things. They're going to have it really put in place where if this guy's, and hopefully we as fantasy players know before, it's if you get a positive test, how long do you have to be out for?
Right.
I know that they have added just kind of COVID IR spots on teams, which is
interesting.
interesting.
That's the thing. Should we, as a fantasy team or as a fantasy commissioner, should we talk about adding a roster spot?
Now we'll kind of talk it out so the people who are also making the decision. I like having spots for that because again, you can't drop your first round draft pick, even though he's going to be out 2 weeks, but you're going to have to pick up somebody to replace him. I've always been a fan of adding more roster spots. I just like having a million roster spots so that I can pick up the guy that's never going to be relevant, but then I can
just laugh in the face.
I can just hope, that 1 in a million shot that maybe
this is the guy.
Yeah, this is the guy that CJ Uzama becomes the tight end one for the year.
He's the one.
Hey, he's going to have a good year. So, CJ Uzama, get him in Dynasty. Star his name.
I don't know if that's the horse I want to ride in on.
Did you know that, again, I was doing some research on him. He had more targets than, more vacated targets than the Green Bay Packers, that was the guy I picked up. I think it was Jace Sternberg, is that right? The tight end?
Yeah.
I had picked him up in Dynasty. He's a younger guy that had some hype, but I don't feel like the Green Bay wants to use their tight ends. Aaron, doesn't really throw it.
Right.
Aaron.
Aaron.
I got to find it. Here it is. There it is.
You done messed up, A.A. Ron!
Hey,
All
hey,
right,
bro.
slight delay. It's all right. We're working on it. We're getting polished. We got more lights.
We got to
today.
keep that one local.
Oh yeah, I gotta just make it a hot button. I'll just have a big red button.
I like it.
You done messed up, A.A. Ron!
Just feels so good.
It does.
But anyways, again, so they lost their tight end, Tyler Eifert, who had a number of targets. He had more targets last year. So again, then I want to say it than Jimmy Graham. I could be wrong on that, but I was looking at just the the combined for Uzama and Eifert was more than Jimmy Graham, the next tight end on Green Bay, I believe, for sure.
I'm just focusing Gronk. And might just
All
leave
right,
the
don't
position
even worry
empty.
about it. You can have Gronk for the next 10 years when him and Tom are just
It's going to be so much fun. There's going to be
just kinda,
pass and catch.
yeah,
and
take the walkers out.
They're
They
going to have
just-
so much fun. So much fun together.
I hope it's fun. I actually do. It's like,
Yeah.
everybody has a little bit of hatred
I just want
for
to watch
Tom,
them play
but
football.
you always loved Gronk. Even if you
Whatever.
hate the Patriots, how do you not just
Right.
the giant man?
How about the
spiking?
Dolphins giving the Bears a 6th-round pick for Adam Shaheen?
It felt like I saw it come across
Just-
my news thing, and I thought it was the other way around. It's like, oh, we
Right.
gave up something to get rid of Shaheen. Like it's just
no.
that's not what do they
Right.
get for Jordan Howard? Was
A
it
6th-round
sixth?
pick. It was the same,
If you
same
get
pick.
the same pick for Shaheen as you do for Jordan
Right.
Howard, I don't know if it speaks to their brilliance with Shaheen or just
I don't know if we have any Miami fans out there.
tell
We
us
don't.
how you feel about Adam
but
Shaheen.
yeah, Adam Shaheen. I mean,
I feel shocked.
It's a good
baby,
shot.
baby Gronk.
My my other drop when I saw that Shaheen was gone.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
I like that a lot.
So we'll see what that.
And then
sixth pick
we
turns
dropped
into.
Broniker, so we're down to 9 tight ends
Oh
now.
yeah, you can never have too many.
So we got that, which is nice.
And still half a kicker.
Right, right.
Yeah, that whole kicking competition from last year has not carried over into this year.
So I'm gonna give you another little COVID scenario here.
All right.
Possible outcome. What if there's a local outbreak for one team? So let's say Adam Shaheen goes into Miami and goes out to a party, and
I
just
gotcha.
you have 37 Dolphin players test positive.
Well, it'd be interesting to watch with the Marlins what happens. And again, because of how the football season is different than the baseball season, it's harder to
Right.
make up those games. I could see a scenario in which,
But
because when would you make it up? Like maybe they lose their bye week or something. Like
Well, what if
moving bye
they
weeks.
can't make it up? I mean, what
If
if
they've already had their bye week?
what if so? Let's say they miss 3 games, right?
Uh-huh.
By the time everybody gets through it and tests negative, so they miss 3 games. You can't ask all those other teams to make up them at the end
So
and wait a month.
It seems like 2 weeks is,
the standard.
yeah, it's fairly standard.
Right.
Again, maybe you get 3 for certain things. And again, there are some argument as to whether if they have symptoms versus if they don't have symptoms, if there's a
Right.
different weight. And again, so that I think is generally what the effective kind of quarantine time is. But I think for a lot of leagues, it's like you have to have 3 negative tests.
Right.
So let's say
2 negative tests within a 24-hour.
or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, who knows if that's exactly what the NFL is doing, but that's I think
It
what
could be
baseball is
different.
doing. Yeah, I think that in the event, my guess is that you would just have to field the team.
Or do you just
I don't think you
forfeit
can.
those games?
I don't think you can forfeit those games. I don't think you can make those games up. Maybe if you could do, maybe one game you could make up if you did it.
What if
but
it's the last 2 games of the season and you're
even those games? Maybe those
you're
last
12-2 with 2 games
Maybe you
left.
could even buy a couple days, but if it's gonna be, and you
Yeah.
would think that no team would miss, where half the team would have it one, and then and then the other half would get it. You think it'd be one time and your team would be done.
Right, but still,
What you
2
could-
missed games is
What you could maybe do, and it's getting creative, and again, I'm not the commissioner, but maybe one day. What you could do is if there was multiple teams that were going through the same kind of thing,
Right.
you could have both those teams take off and then play another game against each other, and you might have to change the schedule, which that screws things up.
But
too.
at what point is it not a football season anymore?
I think that they're going to try to be on top of it enough that they can catch, before it gets to the
Right.
whole team. But yeah, it's definitely a thing that could happen. And maybe even what would be interesting is if they just added, hey, we're going to put 3 more weeks on this season, and those are just for if that
Right.
happens where we're going to make them up.
I don't think you have enough time though.
Well, people will watch. Like, maybe you move the Super Bowl back. But again, I think that they'll find a way to do it.
We also have a scenario where I'd say it's 50-50 whether the NCAA has a football season or not.
The Ivy League already postponed, right? So they might have a postponed season. That's one thing that could happen. Again, there's still a lot of time between now and the start.
I know Rock Valley, our local college, they canceled all their fall sports.
Yeah, and what the NBA is doing that's interesting is, they've got the bubble where they've got all the players together and they're just kind of quarantined everybody, and they're that's less likely for the NFL because there are so many more players on each team.
Yeah, it's different when you have 20-man rosters.
Absolutely. So, 55. It doesn't sound like they'll do that. I think they're still just trying to keep everybody to be as safe and take as much precaution as they can. But you got a lot of guys, a lot of young guys, a lot of, So, it's going to be interesting to see. But there's definitely, and again, I hope that I hope they find a way. I hope that everybody's safe. I hope that we get all the football, and that, everything goes great. But, it'll be interesting. And it's in some of those teams that are kind of getting guys or big players that are getting it now. It's like, are they going to be better off for having, gone through it and maybe, built up some of that immunity?
Definitely interesting. But let's say the season gets canceled. Should those players be eligible to get drafted in the NFL for this season?
It's tough for a dynasty league. So for the real NFL, it's also tough too, because how do you pick, the compensatory draft was not built for that scenario. It was built more for you got a guy who's kind of a middling talent who decides, you know what? I'd like to go out.
The most notable player is Terrell Pryor over the past 10 years.
Yeah, so it's not, your top, your top picks and guys like that. So, but you would think if you have to give up next year's picks, so if you have a high pick from next year, you would assume that team would have probably been able to get that guy.
Right.
But again, it just gives them to him earlier.
It could just change the landscape of some of these positions,
Absolutely. The Falcons get, Chuba Hubbard or something like that, and then all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's two or three blue chip running backs that if the season gets canceled and they can come in through a supplemental draft of some type or whatnot, some of these positions could be ruined.
Bears could get a quarterback.
I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to leave school early.
We'll just trade everybody for Trevor. Come on, Trev. Come on down to Chicago.
The Bears have zero chance of ever having Trevor Lawrence on their team.
Oh no! Once he's completely washed after his 30th season, then we're swooping in.
Because we didn't even do that with Tom Brady. We just let him go to the Buccaneers.
That's interesting. I think they might have made some offers, but
think so.
If I'm Tom Brady, I think I'd rather be in Tampa Bay. But
it's a little warmer there. Jerseys aren't as good.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
Yep.
We let them off the hook.
All right, so let's see. So we got to a lot of topics, but again, I think as the league gets going, hopefully we learn more as fantasy players. In each individual league, people have to figure out their own thing. We'll have to talk about our dynasty league if all those players do come out, how we're going to kind of do a compensatory draft, because it's tough with dynasty because with us, we don't know what the draft order next year would be until we play our year the year before it. Yeah. So we'd have to kind of probably do some kind of random chance thing to figure out what person would have what draft pick.
Yeah. Do you want to go over quickly what we talked about, what I sent out in our league this week about outcomes if the NFL season kind of gets cut off early?
Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll wrap this one up.
Okay. So I talked to our other co-commissioner about kind of the plan of attack if the NFL plays, 3 weeks and gets canceled or 10 weeks and get canceled or, whatever the progression is. So I think we decided on if it's 6 weeks or less, we're just going to refund everybody, or if there's an agreement, we'll just roll it to the next season and either play for double the pot or everybody's basically just prepaid. And then I think from 7 games to the end of this, or 7 games plus, if it gets canceled after 7 or 9 or 12, we'll pay out with the team that's in first place 30% of the pot, and then we'll roll over the rest to the next season. And same thing, either prepay most people's entries or just have a bigger pot.
Yep. So remember, if you get football, if we get a full season,
For the love of God, cherish it.
Yep. All right, we'll wrap this one up. Thanks for listening. We might hardcore some more today or another time. And again, we're going to keep streaming them live. And one of these days when we get everything kind of in order, we want to get a couple episodes so we're not just those guys with the one episode on their channel. We'll put them up so that they're more accessible for people to watch again if they didn't catch them live.
Perfect.
All right.
Alrighty. Have a good one.